Hello, everyone. Welcome to the final stream of the day. I didn't get a chance to react to Ubisoft's press conference, so I'm going to do so shortly. We'll see if anyone decides to join us for this, or if I'm just going to be talking to myself for a couple minutes again. After the talk I have with either someone else or myself, I will likely be taking a short break uh, for an hour or so uh, before Sony's conference starts tonight at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And so hopefully in between that point, we'll get some other people on here to talk about everything that was announced today with me. And if not, oh well. But let's go straight in to Ubisoft. I never like Ubisoft's press conferences. I thought this one was possibly the least painful one that they've had in quite a while. Aisha Tyler toned it down a little bit, and several of the presenters seemed more visibly excited than in previous years. And opening with South Park, I think, was a very smart choice because Matt and Trey are very personable, charismatic people who are always fun to watch on stage. So let's start with that. South Park, The Fractured But Whole, is the follow-up to The Stick of Truth, the RPG from last year. And it looks cool. It looks similar in style, at least, to the previous game. And after Matt and Trey said that they were absolutely not making another game, they seemed to decide they were going to make another game. And hopefully it's as good as most people say. The first one was. I didn't play it, so I can't say personally, but I do like South Park. I think it's a pretty funny show, some pretty biting satire, and I thought that even the trailer on display today had some very funny moments. So looking forward to another South Park game that doesn't suck. That will make 2 out of like 30. So great job. After the opening reveal and Aisha's opening monologue, Ubisoft CEO. I was going to try to pronounce his name, but no, I'm not. The CEO of Ubisoft got on stage and he decided to reveal this year's new IP at the start of the show instead of the end, because at the end he had something else prepared as a surprise, which we will discuss when we get there. But until that point, let's start with the new IP of Ubisoft's this year. It is called For Honor, and it is a sword fighting game. So far, it looked solely like a multiplayer game. There was no confirmation that it was purely multiplayer, but what they were showing was a multiplayer battle, is sort of resembling a more violent multiplayer Dynasty Warriors title. There were tons of AI soldiers running around, and if you can imagine the other generals in a Dynasty Warrior game on both sides being controlled by humans as well, you'll have an idea of what the game looked like. There was a very long cinematic trailer to start, and then they transitioned into actual gameplay, which looked pretty visually impressive. I don't think anything Ubisoft showed came close to being as impressive as the Battlefront trailer from EA or id's Doom trailer yesterday. So or the Tomb Raider thing at Microsoft. So I do think, surprisingly, Ubisoft was the least visually impressive publisher of the show. Maybe they are trying their damnedest not to get expectations above where they believe they can reach them. So I guess that's a pretty smart choice on their part. Anyways, back to For Honor. Outside of the visuals, it looked like a brutal action game. It looked very physical, very. I don't know the exact way to describe it, but if you think of sort of the brutal nature, the very physical nature of medieval sword combat, it had that feel to it. The player they were showing the match from his perspective, he was playing as a medieval knight, I believe. They also had samurai on display and Vikings, so it seems there'll be a couple different combat styles you can make use of. I'm not sure what I think about the new reveals at Ubisoft's press conference, leaning towards these multiplayer specific things. And this one especially, I wasn't quite as impressed as I was with Rainbow Six Siege last year, and we'll get more into Rainbow Six in a couple of minutes. But until that point, let's go on to the next demo. Actually, they didn't really do a demo for the next two games. They just showed quick videos of an expansion for the crew, which has some off-roading and some crazy massive trucks and cars and such that looked like more of the crew. And Trials Fusion is getting something called the Awesome Level Max level expansion, which involved a cat riding on a fire-breathing unicorn. So that was pretty much the best thing of the show so far. Game and show right there. Amazing. So as a fan of the Trial series, I'm super excited to get my hands on that. Probably more than I'm excited for any other thing, honestly, from Ubisoft today, as disappointing as that may be for me and for all of you. So those were just two trailers. That was followed, I believe, by Just Dance 2016, which was Just Dance just for 2016, not 2015. They also announced, though, that there will be a subscription service available on current generation consoles that will allow you to purchase additional songs as the year goes round, probably somewhat similar to the Rock Band song pack style that Harmonix used last generation. Beyond that, it was more Just Dance. They had some musician that I'm sure the kids all know that I have no idea who he was up on stage singing, and that was that. They followed that up, I believe, with a demo for again, this was more trailer. That there was very little actual gameplay even in this. It was for the new game in the Anno series, Anno 2205, in the future, so you can create a moon colony in this one. I have never played the Anno games. I played the developers' other series, the Settlers, but I've never played the Anno titles, so I don't know how they are. I enjoy the Settlers games a fair amount, so I would assume Anno is a pretty decent title, but who knows? Could have been worse. Could have been worse. Onwards, we've got Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Syndicate is another Assassin's Creed. It takes place in London. They actually did not reveal, as far as I know, any new information about it. There was just a lengthy CG trailer. The more interesting thing was that they said that the game is playable on consoles, on the E3 show floor, and in locations in both the US and in Europe and Australia, starting tomorrow, I believe they said, for a bit, so that everyone can try it. It seems that they are working really, really hard to convince people that this year's Assassin's Creed is not going to be a broken mess at launch. So much so that they are showing it at E3. Hands-on, people can play the console build, something that, to my knowledge, has never occurred with an Assassin's Creed game before. So, good on them for showing what the actual game is going to end up being at E3. They've definitely the whole tone of the show for them was about listening to fans and taking in fan feedback and such. So I think they've learned their lesson. They seem to be trying to do better. All the demos they showed were either clearly CG trailers or actual gameplay, warts and all. So that's good. That's good. It maybe doesn't leave for quite as compelling video footage, but it doesn't lead to impossible to meet expectations either. So that's nice. Speaking of warts and all, we got to see more Rainbow Six Siege, more Rainbow Six Siege. If you haven't been following it, it's a mainly multiplayer only shooter where you play as either a terrorist or cop team. I would say I don't know what they're officially calling the people trying to stop the terrorists, if they're calling them the SWAT team or I mean, they're Team Rainbow, I guess. So I don't know what Team Rainbow is. I don't follow the fiction of this stuff enough. But you have your good guys trying to stop the bad guys who are in a building. And in the previous mode they'd shown, the villains had taken hostages. They had a new mode they were showing today where the terrorists were played by AI, and it was solely cooperative. And in that mode, the terrorists had planted a bomb in a building. But regardless of if there are humans inside the building or AI, your goal with a team of three others is to three or four. I don't remember. 3 or 4 others is to break into said building and either disarm the bomb or rescue the hostages, or alternatively kill all of the enemy team. The cool part of Rainbow Six Siege is that there is highly destructible environments, to the extent that almost the entire house that makes up the level that we saw last year and a similar looking but different house that we saw this year both could be completely destroyed procedurally by the players to allow for new strategies. So an example shown today was when they were defusing the bomb, they were worried some terrorists might come up the back stairs behind them. So instead of planting themselves in the doorway, which would have given away their position, they actually shot a shotgun blast through the back wall so that they could see someone coming up the stairs and then maneuver into position and take them out before they got into the room. And that type of strategy seems to be the focus here with all of the demos so far, basically showing how every area can be entered in multiple dynamic ways depending on how you use the destructibility of the environment. You can destroy the floor, from my understanding, and the ceilings. So if you want to, say, drop in on an enemy from the roof, you can do that. If you want to blast through a wall and come at them with a couple smoke grenades thrown type of thing, you can do that too, or you can just use the damn door. But whatever you do, it looks like an interesting addition to the standard shooter formula. I know Battlefield has had limited destructibility in the past, but this game makes very good use of its procedural destruction, and it truly seems to let you almost entirely destroy the structures that make up these levels. So it's a cool piece of tech, and I think they're doing well in using it in an interesting gameplay scenario. So moving on from Rainbow Six, we got Trackmania Turbo. Trackmania Turbo is the current gen take on the long-running Trackmania franchise. For those who have never played Trackmania, it's almost undescribable. Sort of like a Hot Wheels crazy loop-to-loop racing track thing. Imagine just in video game form with track editor and stuff. And in this new iteration of the game, they showed a random track generator even, and I believe there was a Trackmania on the previous generation of consoles. This is the first one on current gen consoles, and it's gotten the obvious visual upgrade that you would expect from such a new entry. And other than that, it looked very similar to previous Trackmania games. They did say that there was VR support, though, so yay for that. If you want to throw up, then this game is for you. And that may have been all but the final reveal. I'm trying to think if there was anything else on display there. I don't think so. It was not super impressive, honestly. After I thought a very impressive EA showing. Oh, The Division. I didn't mention. They did have a demo of The Division, which did not reveal anything too exciting. They basically showed how there would be sections of the city where players could betray each other even if they were on the same team, and steal each other's loot and such. A PvP allowed mode area, if you will, in MMO speak, and that there will be separate, PvE areas where you cannot do that. Though they didn't use those terms, that's pretty much what they were saying, was that there will be PvP enabled areas. So I guess that's fine. I would have expected that a game they are calling an MMO would have PvP enabled areas. So I don't think that's especially surprising or especially notable enough to build an entire demonstration around it. And the rest of the game just looks like a good looking shooter. So I guess I can't say I'm super impressed with that either. It doesn't look bad. It still doesn't look bad. I think that in the, what are we now, 2 years since the game was revealed, we've had other games that have matched the level of graphical fidelity that are being shown in this trailer and gameplay demos that they're showing this year. And I think these demos are looking a little less impressive, even without the evolution of game engines over the past couple of years. I just think they've downgraded some of their graphics, which is too bad, but oh well. Again, it seems to be Ubisoft course correcting, trying to sort of lower those unrealistic expectations that they created with some of their demos in the past couple of years. So I wasn't super impressed with The Division. And they ended the show with a new Ghost Recon game, which I honestly, I had no idea what they were demoing when they were demoing it. They said at the start of that demonstration that it was a reimagined IP of theirs, and I just was looking at it going, what IP is this supposed to be? And it turns out it was a Ghost Recon game, Ghost Recon Wildlands, and it seems to be a game in the classic Ubisoft open world third-person formula. You had a big world and you could go around it and take out different areas in multiple different ways, including using stealth or not using stealth. And there were what looks to be the opportunity for cooperative allies to join you in your quest to take out bases. And it was just another Ubisoft open world action game. They could have not put the Ghost Recon name on it, and yeah, I don't think it would have changed anything. I don't know if the Ghost Recon name adds anything to it. There was absolutely nothing in that game that made it look like a Ghost Recon game. So You put a well-known IP on some of these things simply because it increases sales, and it's not like they've been doing anything super great with the Ghost Recon IP in the first place recently. So it's not like they're risking some treasured IP of theirs. So not I'm not necessarily against them calling it a Ghost Recon game, and uh, I think Ghost Recon had its time, and for the type of game Ubisoft makes, it's not it doesn't fit as well. It's very simulation focused. It's the type of thing you might see uh, a PC specific shooter developer sort of your Bohemias and such make that type of thing. It's not really Ubisoft's style anymore. So taking an IP of theirs that has some familiarity and value with it, and bringing it into their sort of modern gameplay style works for me. I'm sure though that there are going to be fans that are going to be absolutely furious about it, but that's their prerogative. I do think that utilizing an old IP is smart when you're trying some new sort of gameplay systems, but on the same token, these systems might be new for Ghost Recon, but this really did look very much like your standard Ubisoft open world action game that we've seen any number of. And yeah, I guess I can't get super excited about them anymore. It's just we've seen so many of them recently, and this one just has no hook. I think that's probably the biggest disappointment of this one for me is with Assassin's Creed you have the entire historical element to it, and with Far Cry they've made good use of exotic environments and crazy villains that and so that kind of lends a unique element to those. And with Watch Dogs, you saw the the whole hacking component, and you can go through each of their games and their hooks. The Division obviously it has the RPG systems involved with it, and it also has the whole quarantined city elements. So there are elements in almost all of Ubisoft's open world games that I think set them apart, but this one just I did not see anything in that trailer that made it seem any way different than what we'd seen previously from them. So, not very impressed at all with the new Ghost Recon. Honestly, not impressed with really anything on display at Ubisoft's press conference this year, which is surprising. Usually, I very much dislike the structure, the style, the tone of their conferences, but I do usually enjoy the actual demos shown. That there are usually some impressive things there. But I did not see anything that I thought was especially impressive this year. It just looked like more of what Ubisoft has been making for several years now. So especially after seeing what Bethesda, Microsoft, and EA put out, their show was far and away the least interesting, and that is probably going to do it for them. I am going to take a break. I have been recording and watching conferences all day long, so I need to let my mind rest for a bit. This will continue to stream. If other people enter, well, I am not present. I'm sure they will talk on their own, and I will attempt to return in about half an hour to check on who else might want to join for our last conference of the day, which is Sony, occurring at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, I am going to sign off for a little while, and I will see you all soon. Hello, everyone. I have returned for the second to last time. We still have no other participants in this video, but let's give our final pre-show thoughts of the day. Excuse me, leading into Sony's press conference, which is starting in about 20 minutes. So let me give 10 minutes of thoughts or so, and then we'll watch that, and we will conclude afterwards with the post show. So, Sony. I think Sony rested on its laurels last year quite a bit, honestly. They had that absolutely outstanding conference in 2013 where they just absolutely butchered Microsoft, and I think they have been riding on the curtails of that for the past 2 years. But it's time to start delivering on the games. The theory and the moral issues that hurt the Xbox One initially have been mostly resolved with Don Matrix removal, and then today Microsoft even announced backwards compatibility. So Sony has some ground to make up for the first time in several years, and they certainly have the capability to do so, assuming they have the games ready. I think by and large, last E3 felt very much like a situation where developers were just not ready. There just were not a lot of games that were at a displayable point last year from any developer or publisher. So this year overall has just been significantly superior so far. And that leaves Sony in the tough position, having to follow really great press conferences from Bethesda and Microsoft and EA, and not so much from Ubisoft. So beyond obviously showing more Uncharted 4, which they obviously have to do, Sony has something like a dozen internal studios, and they're almost certain to have the majority of them show off some sort of game for the PS4, and probably several of them will be working on the Morpheus VR stuff, and we'll probably see some attempts to demo that stuff. And we saw at Oculus last week how difficult it is to demo that stuff, and the advantage Microsoft has with HoloLens in demoing those things utilizing a special camera. So we'll see how those demos go. But outside of Uncharted 4, we know there is a new Ratchet and Clank game that was just announced last week. Hellblade from Ninja Theory is coming to PS4 and PC, so no Xbox One edition, which makes it seem like the type of thing that would show up at Sony's press conference. Call of Duty was not at Microsoft's press conference, which makes me think that it might be at Sony's, maybe Assassin's Creed as well, because those two series are almost always at Microsoft's press conference. We're not present this year, so entirely possible we'll see one or both of those games show up at Sony. As far as other internal stuff goes, we have not seen any games yet from the developers of Little Big Planet, Media Molecule this generation. They did work on the game Tearaway for the Vita, and they have a port of that coming to PS4 this year, but we have not seen an original PS4 title from them yet, and they seem like the perfect developer to do some Morpheus stuff. So I imagine that's what they've been working on, and I imagine we'll see that this year. Let's see. Sony Santa Monica has been working with several third parties, but we have yet to see any major internally developed game from them. There are at least a couple in the works, we know. Most likely one of them being a new God of War or some sort of spin-off of that series, and probably at least one new IP as well. We've got rumors that The Last Guardian might actually show up this year, which would You know what? There are rumors of that every year, but it seems like some are saying they are more substantial this year. That Mark Cerny, who is the architect of the PS4 and one of the longest running executives and developers at Sony, has taken the reins to try to get over some of the technical hurdles that the team in Japan has been facing. So that would be a rewarding thing if that finally occurred. Also, rumors of a Final Fantasy VII HD remaster coming again, just like every single year. So, if either of those things happen, who knows? But they are rumored again this year, as they are every year. And let's see, beyond that, Guerrilla has been working on some sort of dinosaur based RPG. We have seen nothing of, not even officially announced. So I could imagine we'd see that. I wouldn't be surprised if the Guerrilla Cambridge developer that used to be Sony Cambridge, I believe, was working on another console Killzone, and the Guerrilla Games proper moved on to working on a new IP. I think that's a distinct possibility for what's going to happen going forward. And there's also Sony Bend, which generally has worked on PSP, or yes, PSP and PS Vita games, but are now working on a PS4 title, as confirmed by some job listings on their website. So they might be showing that game there as well. Some other developers we have. Sucker Punch, makers of Infamous and Sly Cooper, they obviously have a relatively recent game in Infamous Second Son, so it's likely they will not be present. Sony San Diego has a number of games that they are working on, including this year's MLB game, the game they're working on with David Jaffe, which involves a teenager's crazy doodling notebook, and then there are just a ton. There are a ton of Sony studios, a ton of potential that we have yet to see manifest, I think. So hopefully we'll get to see some more details, some more announcements of any sort this year, after the very slow year Sony had last year and this year up to this point. And even if nothing comes out this year, just knowing that there is more than Uncharted 4 on the way, I think will make a lot of people feel a lot better. So that's I think Sony is going to be the hardest to predict. I think they have a lot of potential. I think they have a lot to prove. And I hope for their sake they do come out swinging, because they are going to lose their momentum very rapidly after what Microsoft showed this morning if they do not have stuff that can counter the many quality exclusives that Microsoft looked to be showing. So we've got about 15 minutes until this final conference of the evening starts. I am going to go set up for that, and this conference is scheduled to be an hour and a half long. At this point, every single conference has gone at least 5 to 10 minutes over their booking, so I would not be surprised if this one does as well. So I'll be back about 5 to 10 minutes after the press conference ends, whenever that will occur. At the very least, it will be at 10:30, but more likely it will probably be closer to 11. And then tomorrow morning, we will start all over again with Nintendo. So until then, I'm going to sign off, watch the conference, and I will see and hear from you all in probably closer to 2 hours. Hello, everyone. I am back for the final time. We will get started with our day one recap in a couple minutes. I'm going to try to really get at least one other person in here with me to recap the day. So, if you could maybe give me 5 to 10 minutes, I'll hopefully have someone to talk with, and if not, then I will do the recap on my own, but my voice is getting quite tired these days. So, uh, give me about 5 minutes, guys, and we'll talk about that pretty amazing press conference. So it looks like no one will be joining me for our day one recap. And let's face it, it's going to be mostly a Sony recap after that expansive show. I said in the pre-show that Sony probably had the most to lose and the most to gain at E3 this year, and I can't imagine them having put together a better show than what they put out over the past hour and a half. It was filled with everything that fans have been asking for, in some cases for nearly 20 years. So let's go through some of the absolute astounding number of long-awaited reveals, starting with The Last Guardian. Yes, it is finally shown at E3 for the first time in nearly a decade. The Last Guardian was demoed on Sony's stage. Rumors, it seems, were true. It is finally coming in 2016. The demo was being played live. We saw an actual gameplay demonstration of The Last Guardian running on a PlayStation 4. It is real, people. We saw it. So, yeah, finally, just amazing. They have been pushing up for so long, and to finally see it and get a confirmed release date, that's pretty special. So, starting out with what fans have been demanding, really great works there, Sony. I'm just gonna go with the big three reveals here, and then we'll talk about some of the smaller stuff. The Last Guardian, what was a pretty huge moment, but maybe it was overshadowed by the reveal of possibly something that fans have been asking for even longer than The Last Guardian, which is Final Fantasy VII Remade with a modern graphics engine. Yeah. Again, there have been rumors every single year that a Final Fantasy VII remake is occurring, and as usual, there were rumors this year that such a thing would happen, but with how often said rumors occur, I don't think anyone took them seriously enough, because yeah, it's happening. It is finally happening. Again, the two probably most demanded things in Sony PlayStation history occurred on stage within half an hour of each other. So it just amazing. And to top it all off, Sony publicly backed the Kickstarter for, wait for it, Shenmue 3. Yes, Shenmue 3. People have been asking for this for over 15 years. About 15 years. And just absolutely nailing everything the fans want in a single show. You get Shenmue 3, Final Fantasy VII Remade, The Last Guardian re-revealed, and just mind blown. Mine has been completely blown. Totally, completely owning E3 thus far. They had such high levels of competition. I absolutely did not think that their press conference could top what Microsoft had shown this morning, but just completely blown absolutely away. So let's talk about some things that were not quite as mind-blowing, but still pretty major. First off, let's talk about some of the third-party stuff. Specifically, we saw Assassin's Creed Syndicate will be getting exclusive content on PS4, and Call of Duty Black Ops 3, will be getting map packs first on the PlayStation 4. So two of Microsoft's long-running DLC partners jumping ship to Sony this year. So a really big coup for Sony there, getting maybe the two largest third-party franchises on their stage for the first time, I think ever. Assassin's Creed may have appeared before, but certainly it has always appeared at Microsoft first. So again, two big things that PlayStation fans have been clamoring for, not necessarily game fans in general. I think most people would prefer there were no exclusive content for any console, but two major exclusive content gets for Sony there. And that is in addition to Activision also promising more exclusive content with the new Destiny expansion, Taken King, which had been leaked previously. So maybe not as impactful as it could have been, but as part of this incredible lineup of announcements, I think that was a fine addition. So let's talk about some of the others. Street Fighter V revealed some new characters. No Man's Sky showed off the actual game being played, and not, as we've previously seen, sort of overview of the world. We saw some of the actual mechanics, and it was all, again, very, very, very impressive, as No Man's Sky has come to be. So still no release date announced for that, but hopefully soon we'll be able to play No Man's Sky. We got Firewatch, which previously I believe had only been announced for PC. It is being made by some developers who worked on the first season of the Walking Dead Telltale game series, and it looks pretty great. That is coming to PS4. Batman Arkham Knight is going to have exclusive content on PS4. That is not a first. I know at least Arkham City, maybe, no, Arkham's Asylum definitely, and I believe Arkham City as well had exclusive PS4 content. So that's not especially surprising, but this trailer did make it look like this content was pretty impressive. Let me just wheel back quickly to Black Ops 3 because I thought it was interesting to see the developer focus on how customizable and open their co-op campaign will be, something trying maybe very strongly to set them apart from previous Call of Duty games, and saying that you'll be able to choose which powers, I don't know if they're calling them powers, but you'll be able to customize your loadout how you want before the map starts, instead of being forced into using the loadout the game chooses for you, as was the case in Advanced Warfare last year. So basically, openly criticizing their fellow Call of Duty makers' game last year, and saying how theirs will be giving you what you want. So a very good demonstration there. And then this is just endless stuff that was amazing. Star Wars Battlefront and Disney Infinity 3.0 were there. Disney Infinity getting early access to a new playset with Star Wars characters from the original trilogy that they say it will be the only place to play it before the holidays. So as for Disney Infinity and Star Wars fans, that's probably a pretty cool exclusive. Even more impressive, we saw Star Wars Battlefront again, this time showing off a desert-looking level, and it looked, if anything, even more impressive than it did at EA's press conference. I'm just completely and utterly blown away by the visuals in that game. It looks just borderline photorealistic, outside of some wacky animation that you get, whenever you are not hand fine-tuning every single frame of animation. It really is all but indistinguishable from the live action films at this point. So just super, super impressive there. All of that, we have not even discussed any of Sony's exclusive outside of The Last Guardian. So they, yeah. Oh, let me do one last third-party thing there. Square Enix, in addition to Final Fantasy VII, also revealed a new Final Fantasy called World of Final Fantasy, which will be coming to PS4 and the Vita in 2016. I was not able to exactly tell what it was. It had little chibi, I believe they're called, styled characters, but beyond that, I couldn't really understand what the actual gameplay was going to be like there, although it did seem to contain characters from all of the Final Fantasy games that have been released thus far. And then they also showed off a trailer, which I think is a CG trailer, but based on the visuals we've seen at E3 this year, could totally have been some in-game engine trailer for the next Hitman, which I assume we'll see actual gameplay from tomorrow at Square Enix's press conference. But so new Hitman, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and World of Final Fantasy from Square Enix. Okay. Sony first-party stuff. We got a new gameplay demonstration from Uncharted 4, which showed some of the physics technology they had and some of the crowd tech, and it all looked very impressive. Not necessarily as high fidelity in each individual model as seen in Battlefront, but very impressive use of destructibility and physics throughout the demo. And looks super fun, as Uncharted always does. So excited for that. Then we got a official reveal of the dinosaur RPG that I had mentioned earlier from Guerrilla Games. It is called Horizon, and the dinosaurs are actually mecha dinosaurs, and the game takes place in a post-apocalyptic future when it seems humanity in its first form was killed by mecha dinosaurs, and now you play as future humans using a mix of Stone Age equipment and super sci-fi high-tech weaponry to fight mecha dinosaurs, and that pretty much seems like one of the most awesome concepts I've ever heard. So absolutely sold on that. And I believe the last thing that was Media Molecule was on stage. They showed off their game. I think it was called Dreaming. I'm seeing Dreams online, but I'm pretty sure they said Dreaming. Regardless, either Dreams or Dreaming, and it had one of the most absolutely beautiful art styles I have ever seen in the game, and it looked like some very fascinating gameplay and creation implications where you could paint any number of things into the environment and try to create a dreamlike scenario. Continuing on with Media Molecule's obsession with player creation, they seem to be trying to take it to the next level and make even the most ugly creations look pretty ridiculously beautiful, honestly. So that was shown. And I think that brings us just to a Project Morpheus game. I don't actually even recall the name of it right now, but it was made by Guerrilla Cambridge, and it was a first-person arena shooter, it looked like, for the Morpheus. As far as Morpheus went, outside of announcing that and saying that it is coming and that developers are working on it and giving a quick sizzle reel of games that are being made for it, they didn't reveal anything further about the Morpheus. And the only other thing discussed was the PlayStation Vue TV service was mentioned very briefly, but they did specifically say that you will be able to subscribe to channels a la carte with the PlayStation Vue. And the PlayStation Vue, for those unaware, is essentially an alternative to a normal subscription cable service that is launched directly through the PlayStation. And since you can now buy a la carte channels on PlayStation Vue, that seems like an excellent service for people who are only interested in seeing shows on 2 or 3 channels maybe, and don't have any need for the other 400 or whatever that Comcast and Time Warner are going to force you to get. So that was actually a worthwhile breather from the gaming stuff to talk about that, because that is a much desired thing for, I know, many American TV watchers. So overall, just super impressed. The whole thing just moved really fast. All really good presentations. So just mind blown. Sony absolutely nailing it when they needed to. They were in a tough position with not a ton of content announced, and with really strong presentations leading up to theirs, and just then managed to somehow still completely blow it out of the park. I just wow, just wow. And this has to be one of the most impressive E3s I've seen in ever, honestly ever. This harkens back to some of the best E3 stage demos we got at the beginning of the previous generation, and so just really great stuff. After last year's rather disappointing E3, I'm super glad to see so many amazing looking titles on display at E3 this year so far, and we still have Nintendo and Square Enix to go, and on display at Square Enix, we know we are getting Hitman and most likely Rise of the Tomb Raider and Deus Ex, and most likely this World of Final Fantasy title, possibly just any a ton of the Final Fantasy VII remake might be there. I believe they said Final Fantasy 15 will not be there. It is very close to release now, but possibly Kingdom Hearts 3 could be there. So a ton of super anticipated games from Square Enix still to come tomorrow, and then we have whatever Nintendo will be showing. They obviously have Zelda in the works, but they have said it will not be there, and that is their main remaining game that they announced last year. They do have Yoshi's Woolly World coming out very soon, I think next month, so that will likely be there, but it is almost released. And they have Mario Maker as well, which was very well received at the World Championships earlier today. So hopefully we'll get a release date on World Championships and get some new announcements from their various studios. Retro teased that it would be there, and I still think a Metroid Prime for the Wii U would be an absolutely excellent choice. So I do hope they show that. And they don't have, actually, outside of Mario Maker, there's no Nintendo designed Mario platformer out there right now. So that's they are almost always working on a Mario platformer. So I have to imagine, be it 2D, 3D, 3DS, or Wii U, there will be some sort of Mario platforming shown tomorrow morning. But we'll get into full predictions then. Maybe not very long. Nintendo likes to start early, so I may just get right up and start watching shortly afterwards. Their press conference is starting 9 a.m. Pacific time, so that's actually not that bad here, but it is getting late, and I have been watching press conferences nonstop nearly for close to 12 straight hours. So I am going to probably sign off, and I will return tomorrow with Nintendo, Square Enix, and the PC Game Show. Thank you, everyone. This has been a pretty great E3 thus far, and this Sony press conference, just mind-blowing stuff there. I didn't even talk about all of the indie games they had on display, and it's just too packed for this late at night. So thank you, everyone, so much for tuning in to my first day of coverage of E3 2015. I am Seth Gollivan for the Ludus Press, And I will see you all tomorrow.